Okay, said my name is Larry Baumgartner. Said I was the first graduating class from at that time Fort County Technical Institute in 1971, and I said I was born and raised in Defiance, Ohio, and said I started out with Johns Manville on what they called a distributive cooperative training program during my senior year of high school. It was a co-op program at Defiance High School offered. And so my senior year of high school, I was in that program. And Larry Manahan, who was the first, I guess, he's the first dean at Fort County Tech. He came to the school, the high school, and introduced himself because he was a former superintendent at Defiance High School. And he was talking about new, this new Fort County Tech Technical Institute in Archibald, Ohio. And so that's how we got introduced to that. And like I said, I worked for Johns Manville my senior year of high school. And so then after I graduated from high school, they allowed me to stay on full time for the summertime. And then in 1969 in the fall, I started out at Fort County Tech going full time in the mechanical engineering technology program. Well, said first of all, said just bring my upbringing and background in Defiance. Said my dad was a laborer at a rendering plant called Defiance Fertilizer Company at the time. My uncle owned the business, and I worked out there part time as well. And I had an uncle who was a designer at Aero Corporation in Bryan, Ohio, and he really enjoyed his job. And he was kind of my mentor in getting into the drafting program, which in my junior and senior years of high school said I did the worked in the drafting program there, and that kind of led me into the co-op program at Johns Manville. And looking at the mechanical engineering technology program offered by Fort County Tech at the time, said it seemed like a natural progression for me in my own personal career. And so after graduating in 1971, then Johns Manville hired me on full time as a designer. Well, like I said, I worked for Johns Manville from 8 in the morning until noon, and we went to school from 1 o'clock in the afternoon until 9 o'clock at night, Monday through Thursday, and then Fridays, I think we got off at like 4 or 5 o'clock. But sitting in the mechanical engineering group at that time, there was only 9 students. So he was able to develop a very close bond with all the students. And I think the graduating class in 71 only had like 66 students at that time in the first graduating class from Fort County Tech. But again, that said we had some excellent teachers that said I'm trying to think of the name. Mr. Odie was one of the teachers. He did all primarily the math teachers teaching. And then there was the Mr. Barnhart, who was like the drafting teacher. But again, with their backgrounds, many of them coming out of industry themselves, like I said, it helped correlate, I guess, the education with my working at Johns Manville in their engineering department. So again, they said the close bond we had with the other students there and being able to I'll say study together and just developed a very close work bond with the other students. First of all, I said that the technical education I received at Fort County provided the opportunity for me to apply my education while I was working for Johns Manville at the time, and it provided me with real life examples of how to apply your education. Like I said, I had an amazing career overall, and going back, thinking about my upbringing, as a young kid and going until I started with Johns Manville, like I said, that I look back and says, gosh, this whole thing all started with regards to the opportunity to go to school at Fort County Tech and get my 2-year degree and kind of launch my career. But if I was looking at, if any comments that I would make to any current or new students coming into Fort County Tech, I guess my comments would be, you can achieve success in any career you pursue if you do the best job you can in every role that you have. And but what I mean by that is I've seen people get put into a position and they think things are just going to happen for them. But you got to put in an effort to apply yourself. And looking back at my own career, I said I just did the best I could at the job that I had. And I've always said, if you produce excellent results, then the leadership or your results are going to get recognized, and that opens up doors for new opportunities. And I said, don't be afraid to take on new roles. I mean, he said, my background was in engineering and technology. Then I got involved with managing energy, which is something that was totally out of my, I'll say, my original scope or career desires, but it's something that opened the door with the energy conservation program I started in New Jersey. And said, getting me back to Denver, and said then on a temporary basis being offered an opportunity to get, I'll say, in the supply chain group and managing contracts, something that was totally new to me as well. My point is don't be afraid to take on new roles. And they're not going to offer them to you if they don't think you can be successful in them. But again, I'll say the leadership or the results you received in your career up to that point continuously opens up new doors. And I said, you wouldn't be offered new opportunities if they didn't think you could had the skill sets and the leadership to be successful.